Hello there, a very good morning to you. You're watching Sewing Street and my name is Debbie Shaw. If you're new to us, if you've just happened upon us this morning, we're the only dedicated sewing channel in the UK. Sewing Street's only been going for around about 3 weeks now, but we are growing very rapidly. We're bringing you an assortment of fabrics and sewing machines and tools, and of course demonstrations, inspiration and education as well. So we are going to be a go-to place for all of your sewing requirements. So we're live for 1 hour a day at the moment from 9 o'clock till 10. A couple of weeks time we'll be going for 2 hours and ultimately hopefully up to 5 hours live every single day. And because we are live, we are also interactive. So if you wanted to send in your comments and questions on our Facebook page, I've got it open right here. So we can answer any questions that you have and read your comments as well. So if you'd like to come and have a chat or show us what you've been doing or ask any questions or if you have any requests, it's facebook.com/Sewing Street TV. Now, if you'd like to order anything at all, we've got a UK phone number, the details down here at the bottom of your screen. And if you'd like to order on the website, it's sewingstreet.com. But just to let you know, you will be taken through to the website of our sister channel, which is Jewellery Maker. We actually share the building with them. It's amazing here. So don't be put off when you see Jewellery Maker. You're not going to be ordering jewellery. It will take you through to our website while we're in the process of building up our own dedicated Sewing Street website. So you can shop ahead. You can take a look at the other items that we have for you on the show and also take a look at other items that are available that we're not going to be featuring. We've got unique and very special launches of fabric in this show, so I want to dive straight in and show you exactly what we've got because I'm so excited about these. We have fabric panels in the most beautiful colours. It's already busy on the website for these, so let me just open up FPU U03 and show you, whoa, a set of 4 fat quarters. Now, again, they are unique and exclusive to Sewing Quarter, so you can't buy these anywhere else. We're limited in the number that we have for you, so I would suggest, without being too pushy, that you jump on the phone lines or the website and order these as soon as possible. Now, fat quarters. To be able to buy 4 of them that match so perfectly. And when I first saw the colours of these, I wasn't thinking patchwork and quilting. I was thinking homewares and cushion covers and throws and maybe something to put in the bedroom, maybe a throw to put across the end of the bed or a banner. I'm looking at place settings or trimmings for tablecloths and decorating your dining room, these lovely springtime colours, and your conservatory is going to look amazing. So that's the first set of fat quarters. Now these all match. So if you wanted to go more, we have the second set of fat quarters, which is code number TPW27. So, oh gosh, these are huge. They're slightly wider than you would expect from a fat quarter, simply because the fabric's wider. It's 150 wide. So you'll find the regular, I'm an inches girl, 18 inches long, but they are wider than the regular 22 inches. So again, same beautiful colours, the mustards, the deep teals, the greys, very much on trend, but you've got slightly different designs to the first set of fat quarters. So they go together. Right, so that's the second one. Then we've got fabric strips. Fabric strips, jelly rolls, although that's a branded name, 2.5-inch strips of fabric. And here you're getting 16 of them. Let me open that all the way out and show you. And that's KPW68, 16 strips of 2.5-inch wide fabric. Now, I'm going to show you in just a second as well. If you're not a patchworker, and this is normally the kind of thing that you're going to be thinking of, oh, you're going to cut all those strips up, you're going to sew them back together, you're going to cut them into your 60-degree diamonds and hexagons. You don't necessarily have to be a patchworker or quilter to make items out of this. I actually made a bolster using said fabric strips. But I didn't cut them all out individually. I wanted a quick make. So what I did here was to pin tuck the white section. I'll show you how I did that in just a second because we will be doing a demo. So I pinched the white section in the centre and sewed it to make a pleat. So it adds texture to the whole thing as well. So as long as you're happy with the order that the strips are going in, and I think they go together pretty well, then you can just use them as they are. You can cut into them without having to cut out all of the individual strips. So that's a huge piece of fabric for your £19.99. And again, KPW68 if you wanted to place your order. Don't have to remember all of those codes, by the way. If you go on the website, you'll see the pictures, so you'll know exactly what it is, and you just click on that and buy now, and Bob's your uncle, as they say. Oh, just to mention as well, we only have one P&P all day. So if you want to, it's really busy for these, so if you want to order them, please do so now. But if then you come back and think, oh, there's another colourway available, but I've already paid my P&P and I'll have to do that twice now. No, you don't. Anything that you order or add to your order throughout the whole day, so you can check out your baskets, you can pay for your order, you know you've got it, it's on its way to you, but then you order something else later on in the day. It doesn't have to be while we're live, and it doesn't have to be featured in that particular show. We will keep the P&P at £3.95 all the way through to midnight. So if you decide after you've ordered your set of 40 5-inch squares, oh, hang on, I need some scissors. You can pop those on your order. I need a I want a pin. You can pop those on your order later on, and you won't be charged any extra for your postage. So these are the same size as you would find in a charm pack. They're 5 inches square, 40 of them altogether, and you can see already how they coordinate beautifully with all of the other panels that we have available for you. So those again are just £12.99. So now we will be showing you other colourways later on. Let me just give you an idea again. This is what I'm going to be demoing shortly. So again, I didn't cut out all of those squares. I wanted a quick make. So just like with the bolster cushion, I sewed the white parts together to look like pin tucks. And the 9 squares that I used here, with the border, because I used the fabric strips as well, was a perfect size for a 16-inch cushion. And the back of it is one of the fat quarter panels. So I've still got 3 left for another project. I just love the idea of having coordinating cushions and accessories around the home. It can really change the look of your room. Okay, let's fold those back up quite neatly. And I want to show you another quick idea. If you're a quilter, these are absolutely perfect. They're 100% cotton. They're UK designed, UK printed. It's a nice quality of fabric with a reasonably loose weave, so for hand sewing is perfect. Not that I'm suggesting that you're going to patchwork with hand sewing, but a lot of you will be putting your bias binding around quilts and hand sewing the back. And that looser weave of a quilting weight fabric enables the needle to slip through quite easy, so it's a nice fabric to sew. Now when you get your fabric home, it feels quite firm. I like that. I like it particularly on things like bags, things that aren't necessarily going to go in the washing machine, so I don't always wash my cushion covers, I wouldn't wash a bag, I wouldn't wash a lot of the homewares that I make, so I wouldn't pre-wash the fabric. If you prefer your fabric a little bit softer, or you are going to quilt with it or make any kind of attire, then wash it and you'll find that it goes really, really soft. It's not going to fade in the wash, I've already tried that, but it does go softer as the treatments that normally come to you with fabrics disappear. So that's a little tip, that's up to you. But this is another one. Just another idea. I didn't cut the squares out. If you want to sit and cut all of the squares out, if you're doing patchwork, then that is absolutely fine. If we've got chance, I'll show you how I made one of those later on in the show, but I think we're going to be quite busy. Again, I'm going to give you a teaser. I'm not going to go all the way through everything, but it's really busy for this option at the moment. So please check out your baskets if you're ordering that right now, because you don't want to miss out. We do have other colour options available for you. Love these. So all of the same designs, all of the same idea. So you've got 4 fat quarters, 4 fat quarters, you've got your fabric strips, 16 of those, and your 40 of the 5-inch squares, but this is all in the plum colour. So we're not going to go through all of these just now. Have a look on the website on sewingstreet.com and you'll be able to see all of the details there. And then we have another style, so same idea. So 4 fat quarters, 16 strips, 40 squares. Loads of fabric. But this is in the Paisley Marmalade designs. So here again, you've got oranges and greys, so really beautiful colours. Little pop of colour with the mustard, but lovely neutrals. If I open that out a little bit, you'll get an idea of what the actual range looks like. There you go. So it's almost feathery, a very modern design, very contemporary style of design and colours. And again, I'm looking at that just thinking how many cushion covers I can make out of it. I just think it's beautiful, it's very elegant and it's very sophisticated. So that's Paisley Marmalade. If you'll have a look back through previous shows or on the website, John, one of our presenters, brought you a different colourway on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. So just to let you know. Okay, lots of you looking. We know you're there. Thank you very much. If you wanted to go for this option, and I'm sounding very telly-selly, but seriously, if you want to get hold of it, you need to be quick for that one. It's going to go. So should we do a bit of sewing? So I'm just going to show you how I made the cushion cover, because it's very simple. So I've got the squares for the centre, and I've just cut out 9 of them all together. You would be able to make 2 cushion covers quite easily, cutting them out like this, because you've got so many squares. To make it easier to sew, I'm just going to press along the white lines. So I'm folding along the edge, along one edge of the white line, and I'm going to sew along this side, so I get the whole of that white border in my pin tuck. And the same on this one. You couldn't really do this without fabric panels, could you? Because if you just went out and bought a charm pack or a set of 5-inch squares, you wouldn't have the border. That's not quite on the edge, but it really doesn't matter. And then fold over this way. Now, of the 5-inch squares, 1/4 of the stock sold out. That was quick. So glad you like these. You know, when I saw all of the selections, this is the one that I chose to take home to make some quick demos with. I just love the colours. I just think they're so elegant and quite subtle. You know, you've got a really nice colour of the mustard there. It's not bright yellow and in your face. It's very soft and very subtle. And it's so nice when a fabric that I'm drawn to, you are as well. I just love that. So I'm going to sew. So just using a straight stitch. I'm using the Genoma 680, sorry, the Elna 680 Excellence, which I'll give you a little bit more information about later on. If you did want to take, I like Genoma. Genoma is my sewing machine of choice. I find them very smooth, easy to use, reliable. Sorry, this is same company. That's why I'm a bit confused. But this is Elna. And just to let you know, a piece of money, you're spending a lot of money on a sewing machine. It's £1,099. It's worth every penny, but you want reassurance and peace of mind. So whatever your price point when you're buying a sewing machine, when I've been asked before, what would I recommend? The first thing I say is buy a machine with a big name, one of the big brands, because then you get help and support. So I wouldn't buy a machine whose name I didn't recognise. And if you're brand new to sewing and you don't recognise any names, take a look at reviews or ask somebody who sews and they'll advise you. There's probably 4 really big brands that I would recommend. When you have help support, you have guarantees, and that is really important because you're spending £1,000. So you want to know that if something happens, or if you lose a part, or nothing is going to happen. But your peace of mind is knowing that generally with the sewing machine you have a 2-year guarantee. With this machine, you'll get a 5-year guarantee. This machine is also exclusive to us. So an extra 5-year guarantee would normally set you back £60, but we're giving you that. It's got lots of accessories as well, and it's got a memory and it's got alphabets, but I'll talk you through that later. So as I'm sewing the cross section here, so I do tend to kind of sew away without explaining, because it's like being at home having a chat. I just want to make sure that when I come to the cross section, I'm folding the cross back to the white side, so because I want to expose the white side here. So just fold that back over the seam and sew over the lumpy bit, and then back down here. There we go. Okay. Really busy with these squares, by the way. And the same with the last section. And do you know, what's that, 5 minutes? And all that pin tucking is done. And I haven't needed to use a pin tuck foot or a twin needle as you would do normally. That's it. So it's still the same squares, but now you kind of have the look of having that being pieced together. If you want to make it look really like it's been pieced together, stitch from the opposite side. So you imagine you just have the seams like this. But because you're already sewing over lines that are already there, you will always have perfect points because that's how it's been printed. So if you don't want to see the pin tucking, but you want to have the look of having patchworked these together, maybe you're a complete beginner and you're not too sure about your sewing in straight lines and matching points and things like that. This is a very easy way of making sure that you do. So gift, we're coming up for wedding season. This could make a lovely wedding gift, or maybe a set of them, maybe, have a couple of them. And then with what you have left over, you can make a smaller gift as well. But I think the fabric isn't offensive, you know, it's not that kind of fabric that's going to argue with anything else that's in your room. So if you're not too sure of the recipient's home decor, then I think you can be pretty safe with this one. And it's one of those gifts that looks as though it's been really complicated and you've taken a long time doing it. But it's the colours that do it for me. They are so springtime. You know, you look out the windows at the moment and you're seeing daffodils and the crocuses are coming up, and it puts a smile on your face. We're going to have blossom on the trees before long, and I love these colours. They're uplifting. Okay, and I'm going to put borders around here. You won't have quite enough in one of the strips. These are from the fabric strip panel to go all the way around. So you can use one panel to do 2 sides if you wish, or you can use 4 because you're getting 16 of these in total anyway. So this is actually what's left over from the cushion that I made previously. And you can see I've only cut down the centre of the white panel. If I'm using them as 2.5-inch strips, if I'm patchworking, then you'll need to cut exactly along the edge of the printed area, and that's your 2.5 inches. But these are going to be a border on a cushion cover. I don't need them to be exactly 2.5 inches. So instead of trimming down both sides of the panels, I've just trimmed straight down the middle. And there's a white bit on there. But it doesn't matter because my seam allowance is going to be larger than that. So right sides together. I'm going to sew here, right sides together, and sew down this edge. I'll trim off the extra after, so you don't have to cut these exactly right now. And I'm using just over 1/4 inch seam allowance because I'm using the guide on my foot. But that's not set in stone. It's a cushion cover. It doesn't matter whether it's 1/8 inch out or not. So there's no fitting, there's no zips, there's no darts. This is an amazing looking first ever project for you. Maybe you're teaching somebody how to sew. This would be a really good project. Because I think if you are teaching someone how to sew, to have something quick is a good idea, because if things are going to take days and weeks to make, that can be quite off-putting for a beginner. And it's nice to have something that you've made for the very first time that is actually useful. So I'm trimming that strip back. I'll just finger crease this for now. And then on the opposite side, I'll put one of the darker colours. And again, right sides together. They're great for adding sashing and adding borders if you're a quilter, are these strips. You can use them as binding, but they are cut on the grain, they're not cut on the bias. But for edging a quilt, that's absolutely fine because you're not going to go around any curves. Bias binding is important when you're going around a curve because it has a little bit of give, so it doesn't pucker. But if you're binding something in a straight line, or if you're making piping, you could probably get 2 strips of piping out of one of these strips. So given more time and maybe a little bit more experience, around the edge of my cushion here, I know it's bigger, but I could have actually put some piping in between there as well. And that would be a really nice finishing touch. And then maybe around the edge as well. There we go. So with a pack like this, I think one of the biggest obstacles as a beginner, so I do talk a lot to beginners, because I love to get people inspired into sewing and excited about the whole process. But one of the most difficult things, I think, and I find sometimes as well, is going into a fabric shop and just seeing shelves and shelves and shelves of fabric. And it's really exciting. You've got all of these lovely colours, but what goes with what? There's a place not far from where we are here, actually, near Birmingham, that have, it's a quilting shop, it's amazing. You go in there and there's just arches with shelves and racks. But I remember going in there for the first time and there was a whole section of black. You think black was black, but all of these different shades of black. So which black would go with the black that's in the print fabric? What I'm getting around all the trees and houses to get to, when you're buying fabric panels like this, the same dyes have been used through each of the panels, so you know they're going to match. So you don't have to stand there and think, well, does that go with that? Or you could literally buy all of these fabrics in any one of the colours, dive into the pack blindfolded, pick out 3 or 4 and you know that they're going to match perfectly. So I don't like people to be intimidated with fabrics or sewing. There's something for everybody out there, no matter what kind of level of sewer that you are. And you don't have to be any kind of expert. A lot of people lack confidence to actually pick up a pair of scissors and cut up a piece of fabric. But with these panels, you've already got the lines on there to cut, so you're not going to go wrong. Okay. The squares panel that we have in the centre here is now down to single figures. I was trying to warn you, it's going to go. I knew you'd like this one. Okay, got that the wrong way, look, that should have been there. But if I do that, you won't even see. And then the final piece on here. So we'll just get as far as this, and then we'll take a look at some of the other fabrics, because this one's going to go. So look, I'm sewing in a straight line. Go and place your order. This isn't interesting. Right. So, again, just straight down the side. Like so. So, I haven't had a look on Facebook, actually, if I've got any messages. Do you have any questions? Do you have any requests? Because we're a company that are still in our infancy, we can cater. We're not one of the huge conglomerates that have their own specific targets and we have to do it this way and that way. We're very much open to suggestions and ideas, and we can generally accommodate people. So if you've been looking for something specific, you can't find it, or you have an idea of something that you'd like, then come and let us know. Or if you're just enjoying the show, or if you're not. No, not if you're not. Not if you're not. Go and watch another channel. So that's how we are at the moment. And I just want to show you the second colourway that we have in this fabric. No comments, unless I'm just not refreshed. So, these are the plum squares. "45" squares in total. 45", not 45". That would be very big. So you have the same print as the mustard and teal one that I've been working with. But this is a little more monochrome. You've only got a few shades in this, but again, I just think they're really elegant. It's a really deep plum kind of colour with the white background. Actually, we've, a quarter of the stock sold out of this one already. That was just orders on the website. Oh, without even showing it to you properly. What I love about these as well, although they're 5" squares, you don't have to just use them as 5" squares. These are perfect for English paper piecing. The reason being, the designs aren't too big, so if you're making a 1" hexagon piece, you can still even fussy cut some of the larger patterns like these here and have the flower right in the centre. But the smaller designs just mean that every single section, every single area of the of the square is going to be used. There's no wastage there at all. You can EPP square shapes, and these would be amazing for that. So that's why I like a small design. If you have a very big design and you're cutting a small area, you might get a plain piece and it just doesn't look the same. So for English paper piecing, absolutely fine. You could be using these for any kind of patchwork designs, whether you're making them into half or quarter square triangles. So you don't look at squares and think, oh, I'll be making a project out of squares. There's an awful lot more to it than that. So some of the patterns are repeated, 40 of those in total. And you could do the same kind of thing as I did and leave the white borders in there, sew them together from the back, and it'll look like you've sewn the squares together, so you don't even have to worry about cutting them all up. So they are perfect for a quick project. Now that's £12.99. Oh, Danielle's messaged in, and she said the plum is her favourite colourway. Thank you for showing it. Not a problem whatsoever. I wish I could say it was my design. I'm quite envious of this one. I could have taken the credit for that. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm glad you like it. But these are designed in-house. They're UK designed by a very talented gentleman called Tom, and they're printed in the UK as well. So I think that's quite nice to know. Almost keeping everything in-house. So this is one of the fat quarters. So if you'd like to order this one, let me get it the right way around. This is QLW62. There you go. So wider than normal fat quarters. In fact, I should measure those for you, shouldn't I? In fact, I don't need to because it's written on there. 27.5 inches by 19.5 inches. So your average fat quarter will be 18 inches by 22 inches. So it's not just wider because of the wider fabric, they're longer as well. You've got a huge piece of fabric there. Those are massive. So you could, in effect, make 4 pillowcases out of those. If you used a plain fabric on the back. It's only white in the background. We do have white fabrics on the website, I think. If not at the moment, then we will do shortly. So you don't really, the plum's a really unusual colour, and I think you're going to be hard pushed to match that. So whether you're looking for a zip that matches or binding that matches or a backing fabric, I think that would be difficult to match perfectly. So go contrast. So white, absolutely perfect. It is a white background. It's not an off-white. But how about something completely different? How about mixing it with denim? Anything grey, I think, would look really nice as well. Or you could add a little bit of colour. What about something mustardy? I think if colours are kept the same tone, they work. So, when you see a whole range of rainbow colours, say you've got really bright rainbow colours and then you throw a pastel in there, the pastel's going to stand out because it's not the same tone. So it doesn't matter what the colour is as long as the tone is the same. And I'd keep the tone quite cool for those. So that's one of the fat quarter sets. This one is OPW63. So again, same colours, different designs. Now remember, if you wanted to go for more than one, even if you change your mind, you're only going to pay one postage of £3.95 all day. So if you order the panel that you like and then come back in half an hour after the end of the show and think, oh, I wish I'd have bought both of them, then you're only going to pay the one postage. As long as you order today, if you come back tomorrow, we'll charge you all over again. So order on the same day. Right, there we go. Oh, just before we move on, I need to move back really quickly because the squares panel that I was demoing with the cushion cover from the first set that we showed you, we have 5 left. So this one was RKW26, upside down and back to front. You see, that's a talent, isn't it? But that's about to go, literally only 5 left. So if you do have this in your basket, then check out, please. Or probably the quickest way to order is on the phone on 0800 001 4433. Okay, back to the plums. I've got an itchy nose today. Apparently that means you're in for money. Oh, okay. So just checking on Facebook while you're here. not one comment, unless I'm looking in the wrong bit. If you go to the Sewing Street Facebook page, not the Sewing Street fans one, the Sewing Street Facebook page, you can put some posts on visitor posts. Unless we're just a little bit so, or maybe you just don't want to talk to me this morning. Have we got a funny internet? Oh, Lynn's messaging, apparently it hasn't just updated here yet. Lynn's loving loving the demo and the fabric. Thank you very much, Lynn. Especially the bolster. Thank you. I'll show you really quickly. You can do this with the plum one as well. If we get time, I'll explain. I won't have time to show you how I made it. This is, honestly, it's so easy. But doesn't it look good? You imagine on your sofa, on your chaise longue, you've got your square cushion, you've got your bolster cushion, you've got your decorative cushion. You could make that even bigger if you wanted to. And I just think that would look really posh, wouldn't it? Really posh, really effective. The Chase Lounge. Apparently that was on a sitcom. I was in the supermarket once, and a customer came in asking one of the staff there if they had mangy toot. Do you have any mangy toot? Fancy mangy toot for dinner? Mange tout. We're not all French. That's how it's spelt, mangy toot, isn't it? Those are your fabric strips in the plum again. So you've got 16 of the strips all together. And you will have, I was just looking if there are repeats. There are repeats. I think we've got 8 designs all together, but with the plainer ones at the top, there's only one of each of those. So those break up the pattern ones really well. So again, if you like them in the order that they are, then you can just sew them together as they are. You can even just leave the white stripes in there. You don't have to put pin tucks or put them into a seam or anything. That's entirely up to you. But if you are patchworking, then of course you can, you could barge yellow, couldn't you? So what I'd do there is sew right sides together. And no, actually, I was going to say you'd need the 2.5-inch strips. You don't. You need the strips to be all the same size. You could make sometimes with the barge yellow, they come in different sizes of strips as well. So I would fold this in half, right sides together. You can see the print through there. If you wanted to really mark exactly where the 2 prints line up, stick a pin through there and then iron it. And then just sew over the seam with a 1/4-inch seam allowance. Excuse me. So sew all of those together that way, and then you can cut them into your strips. So you make a huge one. Sew them all together, sew together into a tube, then cut into your strips. Is this what John was explaining last week? I didn't see the show, but last Friday he did do was it Friday or Saturday? I can't remember. He did a Bargello show. And then you can rotate the strips and cut them again, so you get that really nice effect. And if you haven't seen it before, you won't have a clue what I'm talking about. But have a look on Friday's show. I think John was doing it then. And I've had a message from Linda. Hi, Linda. Morning. She says she's loving the fabrics and the tutorial. Thank you. Oh, and she's got a request for my sewing surgery. Okay. Oh, she wants to know how to square up a pattern fabric that doesn't have a straight edge. Yes, I can show you that. My next sewing surgery will be open on Monday, the 6th of April. And basically, if you haven't seen that, if you'd like to drop us a message on Facebook or onto my personal Facebook page, which is Debbie Shore, S-H-O-R-E, send me a message and ask your question. Is there a particular tool that you've seen that you don't know how to use? Do you want to know about any kind of tools? Maybe you want a tool for pressing something very small. We covered that in the last one. Come and let me know. If you have any problems, if you need any advice, We are getting so many questions through. I'm not getting to everybody's questions all in 1 hour, so we're saving them up. So we're having a bit of a roll on. I did have a question last time that we didn't manage to answer, which was about buttonhole placement, and I do have some tips for you there, so we'll answer that one again on Monday the 6th. So keep the questions coming in. Okay, let's have a look at our creative grid ruler while we're talking about tools. Let me put some plain fabric behind you. So, if you're going to order a ruler, go for the biggest one you can. This is 6 by 24. This is the size of ruler that I use. We've got lots of markings on here. This goes with your rotary cutter and mat, but of course it's a ruler, you can measure with it as well. But these three things kind of go together, and these are as important as these when you're cutting, particularly when you're cutting straight lines like this. So if you're patchworking, really important. You've got different colours of markings on here, and they're there for a reason. It's so that the markings will stand out against light or dark fabrics. So one half of this is in the white and one half is in the black. Your inches go they're directional, so one starts down here and one starts there. So no matter which way around your fabric is, you're going to be able to measure from the right end. 45 degrees is really important as well, because a 45-degree angle will allow you to cut half square triangles and 45-degree bias binding. So all you would do there was to line this up with your mat. So this is how they work together. So I'm not measuring inches, I'm just making sure the squares on my mat I'm measuring up to the squares here, and then there's your 45-degree line, which you could also use on your mat as well. So let's measure this the right way. So my 45-degree line now is on the grain of the fabric, so if I cut across in this direction, I've got my bias binding cut, and then you'd use the ruler in this direction to cut to the width that you wanted to. That might be a sewing surgery thing, actually. We could do a more in-depth look at rulers and why they're so important. Patchwork, absolutely important. I do a lot of bag making, and that's really important that I use this as well. You get such a more accurate cut when you're using a rotary cutter and a ruler than you ever would do with a pair of scissors. And you can normally cut through more layers of fabric when you use this kind of system as well. And thicker fabrics and heavier fabrics and slippy fabrics and stretch fabrics, because if you've got a stretch fabric, no matter what kind of shears or scissors you have, when you're cutting, you're lifting it up. So you're lifting this away from the bottom, and that cut isn't going to be as accurate as that cut would be. So fabrics that can fall away from your scissors, or fabrics that can bounce away from your scissors, you can really get an accurate straight cut when you're using your ruler. I use an Alpha rotary cutter. The most popular size is 45mm, which is this one. This is a left or right-handed rotary cutter. To change the blade or to change the direction, you'll unscrew this and you can simply put it on the other side, so you can make it left or right-handed. There is a lock on this as well, and this is really important because at the moment I can squeeze this as hard as I like. It's not going to open. When I do that, the blade opens. Get used to blade in, lock on, because these blades are incredibly sharp. Even when you think they're blunt and you need to replace them, they're still incredibly sharp. Be careful how you dispose of them as well. So that's £19.99. Your blade will last for a long time unless you hit a pin. If you go over a pin, you're going to get a nick in the blade, you will have to throw it away. And I've also found that if I get glue, I use a lot of Gutermann HT2 glue, which is really solid. If I get a drop of glue on my mat and I go over that with a blade, it can make a chip in it as well. So just look after those and they're going to last you for a long time. Oh, we've had a message from Andrea. Hi, Andrea. And she said, loving the fabrics. And as you say, shading on fabric can make it hard to match. It can. But she says these fabrics sort out the problem. I think you're right. She says, I always thought she says, I thought that's what 50 Shades of Grey was. A coloured matching advice sheet. So did you buy the book and read it because you were expecting some advice on colour shading? I bet you had a surprise. I was thinking, I write books. I've got quite a few books. Not similar to that, but I did propose to my publishers a few years ago that I should do a 50 Shades of Grey fabric. And for a moment it was, oh. That never quite happened. There you go. But I think that you're right about the shades. It saves you the time and the trouble of picking out the shades yourself. And you know, I know this might sound silly, but if you were to find the perfect set of, I think there are 8 different prints here altogether in a store, and then say to your storekeeper, can I have 2.5 inches of each one of those, please? They probably wouldn't. A lot of places will give you a 1/4 metre or a 1/2 metre minimum order. So it's quite nice to have them all together like this. So there you go, that's those. So let me give you really quickly the details of our final set, which is the Paisley Marmalade. So strips first of all, really quickly, OPW28. 16 strips again. These are in a deep grey on a white background with... Marmalade's a good colour, isn't it? It's not orange, it's not mustard, it's kind of in between. But it's quite soft, it's quite a subtle colour. So we've got a very modern, I think they're almost feathery, leafy designs to the Paisley, so it's quite a contemporary look. Lots of details. It reminds me of Zentangle. You know, where you draw all of those lines on and then just colour in with black and white ink. That's what it reminds me of. So again, very, very modern and very popular. 16 strips, 2.5 inches wide. Unless you're mixing with other 2.5 inch wide strips, though, don't worry about them being exactly 2.5 inches. As long as, no matter how you're chopping them, you use the same seam allowance, I don't think that's particularly important. So there you go. Those are the £19.99 anyhow. So have a look on the website on sewingstreet.com and that'll give you the details there. And just like with previous, we've got fat quarters. Order ZWU. ZWUU 73. I tried to make that really confusing, didn't I? And then I'm thinking homewares again. I'm looking at that chair in your conservatory thinking, you know, I'd love a new chair and I'd love a new cover, but that's going to be expensive. So I'm just going to update it with some cushion covers and bolsters. You could chop them all up and sew them back together and make a lovely patchwork cover. But these are so wide. Again, you've got 27.5 inches in width on those. I think you could make cushion pillowcases. So you could have your pillowcases with the fat quarters and then make some cushions to throw on the bed with the smaller pieces as well. This is your second set of fat quarters. So this is BDUU 47. They're very elegant colours, aren't they? I think grey always is. Hi, Rosemary. Rosemary says, great choices. Thank you very much. Plum's her favourite one. And loves what I'm doing. Thank you very much. What are you going to make, Rose, with your plum? Love to hear your ideas as well, because you'll be sitting home thinking, oh, no, I wouldn't do that. I'd do this. I'd like to know. These are the fabric squares, 5.5 inches square, and 40 of those in total. And again, I like with the cushion cover. I wouldn't necessarily sit and cut out every one of these. I think it's a brilliant idea. If you've got your rotary cutter ruler and mat, it doesn't take very long to cut them. It may do if you're sitting there with a pair of scissors. But I don't think I would. I think I'd just use them as they are. So what's half of that? So I'm just being a little bit self-indulgent here, thinking what I'm going to do next. That could be pillowcases. I'm sure that size would make a pillowcase. So you could have a matching pair of pillowcases and just put white fabric on the back. Oh, I might make some pillowcases. And then if you wanted to replace all of your bedding, because duvet covers can be really expensive, quilt covers, buy a plain white and then sew a border on it, you know, as if it was a bed throw just across the bottom. Oh, that'd look nice actually, wouldn't it? So I'm backwards and forwards here. But imagine the whole length of these, which is 55 inches wide, Might need to, oh no, you can't just join two together because you'll have a seam straight down the middle. How would you do that? Okay, this is what we're going to do. Well, we're not going to do it, but in my mind, a bed runner or a table runner, I'd probably use half of these. So 8 strips, I'd cut straight down the middle of 8 strips, and then cut those up, I'd measure those evenly, and kind of swap them around and maybe do like a brickwork effect. So if you're sewing 2 pieces together, you've got a seam right down the middle, and that's not very pretty. But if you join them together randomly, or maybe turn one upside down and then that way, that would look nice, and that would be very quick and easy to do as well. Okay, so that's the Paisley mustard in the strips. 50 foot, yes, that's even wider than a jelly roll would be. They're normally 44 inches wide, so you've got an extra 11 inches there. So you're getting a lot for your money. Okay, that's those, that's that. Plum's been really popular. And of course, we don't have very many of those left. Okay, shall I just show you how I made the back of this cushion cover? Because it's an envelope cushion cover, which is the easiest way to actually make a cushion cover because there's no zips or anything in it. And it doesn't actually use very much fabric. So I'm just pressing the seams away. Like so. So all of my seams are going in one direction, but it really doesn't matter for this. If I was making a cushion cover to sell, or if I was giving this as a gift, I'd finish off the seams. So use a zigzag stitch or an overcasting stitch on your sewing machine, or of course if you have an overlocker, even better. So, and I would maybe even line it, particularly if you're selling it. I'd put a lining in it. But if this is for you and you don't mind, this is all we're going to do. So I've taken one of the fabric squares. To give a really plush finish, I'd use one square folded in half as one side, and then another square folded in half from the other side. But that means using 2 different fat quarters. And I just want to use one fat quarter because I want the same print on the back, like so. So these aren't actually lined, I've just hemmed them. So it does mean that the cushion's a little bit thinner than if you'd used a lining in it, but this is a cushion for me and nobody's going to turn it inside out, so that's absolutely fine. So I'm going to just crease the centre mark, and again I haven't cut exactly along the edge because I don't need to. Whatever of the white is left over is going to go into the seam allowance, so I don't need to cut twice. So I'm just creasing the centre point there and cut this in half. And then on the edge that I've just cut, I'm going to fold this in half. That's in half. I'm going to fold over by about 1/4 of an inch and then 1/4 of an inch again, so I don't see any of the raw edge on the inside. And then sew. Let's move you out of the way. And you could pin, you could use your fabric clips if you wanted to. But I find it just as easy to fold as I'm sewing, so just roll that over a couple of times. And again, this isn't the hem on a skirt or a pair of curtains. If you've got a wobbly stitch line, or if your hem isn't perfectly 1/4 of an inch folded over twice, don't worry too much about it. And then just use a straight stitch. Leave the needle in the down position when you stop to rearrange the fabric, so you know that your stitch line is going to carry on in the same direction. So if you don't have a machine whereby the needle automatically stops down, turn the hand wheel towards you until it does. However, if you want to upgrade, Joe, this is, I will have questions saying, was that suitable for a beginner? Absolutely. It's a really simple machine to use, but is a beginner going to spend £1,099? I don't think so. So probably the people that are buying this machine are the ones that are upgrading. Let me just give you a quick look. And I'll explain what we're getting along with this as well. So 170 stitches you have on here, and they're all inside the lid here, so they're right in front of you. You don't have to refer to the manual. You can do if you need any of the stitches explaining. You do get the manual included, and it's very simple to understand, but it's very comprehensive. But you've got lots of pictures in there as well, so it's really easy to understand. With those 170 stitches, you've got 10 buttonhole stitches. You've got stitches that are suitable for stretch fabric, for overcasting your fabric, and you've got stitches that are decorative, satin stitches, stitches for quilting and patchwork, so stitching the ditch stitches, and you've got 4 fonts of the alphabet and numerics in there as well. There is a memory. You can join those letters together so you can make words to embellish your work as well. I love this look. The feet that you use most of all are kept right there, right in front of you, so you can just kind of flick these open and choose the feet at your will. And these are all numbered, and the numbers are on the feet as well. So when you choose a stitch, the screen at the front here, for instance, it says foot A for a straight stitch, which is your standard foot. It will show you on there which foot it recommends to use. It's a machine that you don't need to use with a foot pedal. So if your feet don't work very well, if you prefer to sew standing up or you prefer sitting on the floor, you've got a start-stop button and a speed control, so that's really useful as well. We've got more accessories inside the accessory box, which slides off the front and also gives you a free arm. And we're talking really quickly because we're running out of time and I've got loads to talk about here. So we've got space for your bobbins and more feet, and of course the bits and bobs that you expect to find with sewing machines, so your screwdriver, your spare needles and everything are in the bottom there. So just really quick, I'll go through all of these in a second. All of these. You get all of those. But you're also getting an extension table, which has adjustable legs. So this clips onto the side here. There we go. But you can screw these up and down. So you can make sure that the top, you see how this is a little bit too low? That's because when I fitted the table earlier on, the machine was over here. So it's actually standing on the mat, which lifted it up a little bit. But I love this. I like the extension table. It's got inches and centimetres on there as well. But I like it because it gives you a wrist rest. It supports larger items such as curtains, or if you're dressmaking. And if you're free motion embroidering, you've got a nice flat area to work on there as well. So that's that. Tell you what else I like. You kind of expect it with a machine of this calibre. So that's really noisy, isn't it? But you have a hard, soft cover, if that makes sense. It's hard on the sides and soft in the centre. A bit like a chocolate. So you can carry it, but then it covers over. And you've got a nice big pocket on there, which is compartmentalised, and one on the back that can fit your extension table in there as well. So everything is stored in here. That's like your sewing station. And of course, it's embroidered with the element at the front. If you're going to a workshop or a sewing class, how impressive are you going to be? I mean, you turn up with this. So that's your cover. Important to mention. There we go. And then this way. I'll pop this back in again now. Right. And then let's pop that down. You're getting so much. I'll run you really quickly through the feet. Won't have time to demo them. And then I'll finish my cushion cover, or at least explain how to do it. Little things, I know. But you're getting a bobbin case. I have racks and racks of bobbins because it's tedious to fill them. It's like fueling up your car, isn't it? It's dull. So all of my most popular colours, or my most used colours, I'll put into, load those up. Even if it's all white, just load those all up. You have a walking foot, so perfect for quilters, for curtain makers, for those of you that are sewing through thick or heavy fabrics, or slippery fabrics as well. That's perfect for you. You have you've got a standard foot and you've got a clear foot. This is a satin stitch foot, which has bars on the bottom which raise your fabric away from, raise the foot away from the stitches, because the satin stitches are 3-dimensional, so you don't squish them. You have an open-toed foot for the same reason, so that you're going to use with your embroidery stitches. We have a rolled hem foot, which is one of my favourite feet. With this one, you can create a hem which is about 1 millimetre wide. So if you're sewing voiles or very fine fabrics or satins and silks or sheer fabrics that you don't want to see the hem, you know, really thick, then that's the one that you're going to use. You have a darning foot. So you can do free motion embroidery or darning. You also have an adjustable darning foot, which has a closed foot attachment. This comes off and gives you an open foot attachment, or you've got the large disc there as well. You also have an over edge foot. So if you don't have an overlocker, you're going to use an over edge stitch on your machine to finish your seams. And these bars down the centre help to keep the raw edges folded in. This is a blind hem foot. So invisible hemming on a tire or on your curtains. You've got your zipper foot as you would expect, a button placement foot to help you sew buttons on, and you have your buttonhole foot with a stabiliser. This helps to keep fabrics that have a pile on them flat and keep the fabric flat as well. We also have a straight stitch plate. A straight stitch, you're only going to use it with a straight stitch because it's got one hole in the centre. So if you try and use a decorative stitch, then you're going to break a needle. So on a straight stitch, this gives you more of a surface area that's in contact with your fabric, and it helps to keep your fabric flat and stop puckering when you're sewing in a straight line or you're sewing at speed. Oh, then you've got a second spool holder, so you can do twin needle sewing. There's a twin needle included, and you've got some seam guides as well. And I'm sure there's more. Have I dropped one? You've got a knee lifter. Didn't show you that one. So this goes into the front of the machine. I shall show you where. I can't put it on when it's facing this way. But it basically goes in here, faces downwards. I wonder if it'll work from there. Nope. And if you don't want to take your hands off your work, maybe you are free motion embroidering or you're going around a corner or you're quilting, you can use your knee lifter by pushing this to one side with your knee, and that will lift the foot up and down. A lot of quilters will be using those, I know, because it makes it so much easier. And there is another foot apparently, but I've dropped it on the floor then. We can have a look at what it is and maybe I'll describe it. What on earth is that? And you get this. We'll edit that out later. This. And you have a 1/4 inch foot, which is very durable even when dropped on the floor. So that will give you a distance of exactly 1/4 inch from the edge of your fabric. So again, that's perfect for helping with seams. Oh, we're nearly out of time, and I do want to explain what I'm doing with this. So we will do right sides together. I will have hemmed the opposite side in the same way as I did this. So there's my hem across the straight side here, and that's going to go right sides down. The second half, and again, remember that will have been hemmed, goes right sides down on this side. I would pop a few pins around there, particularly over the area that's joined, and sew all around the edge from this side. When you've sewn that, you're going to trim back the fabric from the back so it's the same size. Go over where the join is here. When you're sewing that, just go over a couple of times to make that seam strong, because when you're pushing your cushion cover inside, your cushion pad inside, sorry, that's the bit that's going to take the strain. So sew over this area here a few times to make it nice and strong. Where the seams are meeting in the corner, cut straight across the corner, so that's going to be like that. Your seam will be inside here. Cut across the corner, and that'll help to cut down on the bulk in the corner when you turn it the right side out. And then, excuse me, when you do turn this the right side out, you're going to be left with your cushion cover like this. A little bit of a tip for you as well. Sometimes with cushion covers, depending on what kind of padding you have, I like to use hollow fibre, I'm not a fan of feathers. The cushion pads don't go all the way into the corners. You can use a little bit of toy filler and just push the corners out. And I thought that was cheating a little bit until I did my training in upholstery, and it's acceptable. They do that, the professionals will do that when you're upholstering sofas. So yeah, just pad those. Obviously don't wash those when you take them out to wash, but you can pad those. So we've had a really busy show, so thank you very much for your company. We're going to be live again tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. So from now for the next few hours, you're going to see some repeats of shows that have been on already. You can catch up with us on YouTube. This show will probably be on later on in the day, but the shows we've had for you since our launch are available on YouTube. And of course, you can watch on YouTube live. So if you have friends or family that can't get channel 74, we had to get a booster on our aerial to get 74. You can actually watch on YouTube live as well. So you don't need Sky and you don't need Freeview. You can watch live on YouTube for now as well. So there's lots of ways of watching, lots of ways of getting in touch. Remember to keep your questions coming in for my next sewing surgery, which is on Monday the 6th of April. So I shall see you again then, if not before. Hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.